Welcome to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I'm your host, Lisa Huff. Over the last 5 years, I've coached hundreds of hairstylists and beauty industry professionals, helping them work their dream schedules exclusively with their dream clientele and earn their dream income, all while fostering genuine connections and lifelong friendships inside the beauty industry. In this podcast, we dive deep into abundance, manifestation, business building strategies, and creating a life that you are truly proud of, both behind the chair and at home. Are you ready to embark on a journey of personal growth, success, and sisterhood? Then hit that subscribe button now and get ready to experience the pure magic of Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I'm your host, Lisa Huff. If you are new here, hello, welcome. This is going to be another solo episode. The last solo episode I did was the victim mentality versus creator mentality, and I got a lot of really, really, really great feedback on that episode. Like I said in that recording, it dropped in, it felt inspired. I didn't overthink it. I just sat down, I recorded it, and after I recorded it, I was honestly a little bit unsure. I didn't listen to it back, but before I launched that episode, I had like a little bit of fear creep in a few times. Like, do I want to say that to everybody? Like, I don't know. I felt a little bit uncomfortable. It was kind of pushing my boundaries of comfort level. And I still did it because that's what I do. That's what I preach for other people to do. Like, I recorded the episode. I felt called to record it. Don't fucking overthink it. Just put it out. So I did. And when I listened to it back a few weeks later, I was really, really, really proud of that episode. Like, I listened to it back and I was like, yeah, like, I feel really good about how I shared that, how I went about that. And then the feedback that I received was equally or more on that same wavelength. Like, a lot of people told me, I like hearing the inner workings of your brain. You have a fascinating way of thinking, and a couple people were like, it's so wise beyond your years. Like, it's just, anyway, I feel weird sharing this, trying to be humble, but like, I got really great feedback. So actually about that same time when the victim mentality episode went out, I received a Marco Polo from a Soul Tribe member. I did get her permission if I could share this in this episode, and I got that same kind of wave of inspiration of like, you should do a podcast episode on this. So you guys want to see the deep dark corners of my brain? This is very random, maybe strange to some of you corner that I'm inviting you into. Let's dust the cobwebs off back there and uncover her, because when I received this Marco Polo from a Soul Tribe member, I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to put the polo in here. I'm also going to share a few TikToks in this episode with you. So if you want to watch this on YouTube, you can. If not, audio is going to be totally fine. I'm sure actually Amy would probably prefer if you only listen to audio, but she said I could share it. So, okay, let me gather my thoughts real quick. Okay, so I received this Marco Polo shortly after the vision casting workshop, which took place end of December. And in the vision casting workshop, I proposed that everyone does what I have coined the 30-day Grateful AF mindset challenge. And there's a few stages to that. The vision casting workshop replays are available if you want that. I'll link that in the show notes. But she was doing this grateful morning challenge, like starting your day off right, waking up before, the world and the rest of your family, creating a sacred space to go down to, doing some meditation, doing some gratitude practices. She was a few weeks into her Grateful AF morning challenge. So she sent me this polo, and I want to share it with you guys. I guess let me just start by saying this before we really dive into this episode. As you can tell by the title of this episode, I think I'm going to call it something along the lines of like, doing dishes is a spiritual practice. Which I've got enough podcast episodes now that I'm just starting to say some weird shit. I never know when it comes to these things if I'm just like thinking a little bit too deep and like doing too much. Like, but this is truly the way my brain works. Okay. So Amy sends me this Marco Polo into her Grateful AF mindset challenge. I'm gonna play it here. If you want to watch on YouTube, you'll see her face, but you're not missing much. It's just her talking to the camera. We send Marco Polos inside of Stylist Soul Tribe, and she sent me this solo polo to share this with me. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys listen to it.
Hi, Lisa. I just wanted to come on here and share something with you. I've been doing the gratitude challenge from the vision casting workshop. And yesterday morning, my dishwasher crapped out on me. And instead of like spiraling into this like negative spiral that I would normally have done, I noticed that I was like totally calm and just was like, whatever. I guess I'm going to have to wash dishes by hand for a while until I can save up enough to buy a new dishwasher. And then, so then I spent the day today, like totally like cleaning and organizing and rearranging my countertops and cupboard space in my kitchen, so then I can like create a better, more efficient space for me to do dishes by hand. And I'm like, I haven't even been upset or like this whole time. So I just feel like, the gratitude challenge, I think, has totally helped me with that and keeping me in a more positive frame of mind. So yeah, I just thought I would come on here and share that with you. Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of cool. So anyways, I hope you have a good night and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, so as I was listening to that polo from sweet little Amy Lee, this thought process started coming into my mind. And I don't know if I'm just fucking talking just to talk or if you guys are going to catch my drift on this. Depending on how deep you are into like your spiritual journey or whatever mentors, whatever gurus, whatever books you've read, whatever podcasts you've listened to, whatever journey you've taken. I know one thing that had stuck out with me in my journey of energy work, spiritual healing, mindfulness. As soon as I heard Amy talking about doing the dishes by hand, it didn't just take me from, oh, I'm so glad that like you're grateful and you're not losing your shit. Like I'm glad the gratitude practice is working in that alone. But I instantly went to the fact that doing dishes by hand is one of the most spiritual practices that you can ever do. I don't know where I heard that the first time. I just knew that was the truth. I know I've read it in books. I know I've heard of it. I know I've seen TikToks. And as soon as Amy was sharing that, I was like, okay, I'm about to like go off on a tangent. And that's when the podcast episode chimed in. And so I went off on a tangent to Amy on Marco Polo. And I told her, like, one, I'm so grateful, so glad to hear that the Grateful AF Challenge is like making you a better version of you. You're not losing your shit. You're not, spiraling into this downward spiral. Like, because here, okay, we'll get into it. I'm glad that that's happening. But second of all, if you haven't heard this concept before, I think this is going to be a good lesson, So I was like, let me do a little bit of digging. I'm going to find some TikToks and I'm going to share with you why doing dishes by hand is one of the most spiritual practices you can do. So I have a few TikToks. I have a few TikToks that I found, and I hope I'm allowed to share TikToks on my podcast. I should probably look into like the copyright of all that. I think I can. I'll ask for forgiveness rather than permission. I'm gonna share a few TikToks that a quick search, because I just wanted to like bring Amy up to speed rather than like me telling her all these different reasons why doing dishes is spiritual. Let me like just find a few TikToks and forward them to her real quick. So I did, and I asked her if I could share all this, and I said I think you've inspired a podcast episode. I'm gonna talk about this. So I have a few that I want to share with you just to give other perspectives. and then kind of share my take on them. So let's listen to or watch them together. If you're on YouTube, you can see the video. If you're audio, all of these are audio dominant. So don't worry about not being able to watch it. Let's go down a little TikTok scroll together, shall we?
If you have to hand wash dishes, make it a twofer and focus on banishing something while you're doing it. Scrub the shit out of those plates and cups and rinse that shit down with the intention of banishing whatever it is you're thinking about.
Okay, so that was the first TikTok. It's simple. You heard her. I think this was from like a witch talk. I don't practice Wiccan. I don't know what I'm doing with any of these things. I'm on my own spiritual journey, but I liked that TikTok particularly because I just want us all to remember this. And this isn't just doing dishes. These are little, small, mundane tasks that you typically wouldn't love doing because you'd rather be distracted or numbed or something doing something else. But like, isn't that the base of all things like mindfulness and spirituality is just like being in the present moment? So one, I liked that TikTok specifically because let's make it a twofer. Let's put an intention behind this practice. Let's take any negative energy that we have, let's become aware of it, let's tap into the present moment, let's focus on what it is we want to release, and then let's wash that shit down the drain. So like that's an easy, that's a digestible one. We're going to keep getting deeper and deeper with all of these TikToks, but I want to start there on the first one of the many reasons that doing dishes and other mundane, seemingly inconvenient, annoying tasks are so damn spiritual. Okay, now I'm going to share the second TikTok with you, and I think this audio with this TikTok, the video I'm posting on YouTube isn't even the original audio, but I really enjoyed this one, so I snagged it. I want you guys to hear it.
I am at the lake right now, and I literally don't know what I look like because it's so damn bright, but I'm reading this book called At Home in the World, and I have a passage I want to share. So the author is a monk, and the whole book is just a bunch of stories that were pivotal in his spiritual growth. And this one's called Washing Dishes, and he basically talks about this realization he had when he was washing dishes. To my mind, the idea that doing dishes is unpleasant can only occur when you aren't doing them. Once you are standing in front of the sink with your sleeves rolled up and your hands in the warm water, it really is quite pleasant. I enjoy taking my time with each dish, being fully aware of the dish, the water, and each movement of my hands. I know that if I hurry in order to be able to finish so I can sit down sooner, the time of washing dishes will be unpleasant and not worth living. That would be a pity, for each minute, each second of life is a miracle. The dishes themselves and the fact that I am here washing them are miracles. Like, yo. Talk about, like, wow. Like, literally, we are so conditioned to feel like we're always in a fucking rush. We're so conditioned. We have this, like, internal clock because of capitalism, because of the industrialized society we live in, because everything.
Okay, so there's another take. That one was actually a little tricky to share because the audio was like longer, but the minutes or the TikToks I could download were like chunks of it. So I actually downloaded 2 TikToks and pieced them together. So if you're watching on YouTube, that's what that switch was. Okay, so obviously that's like from a book written by a monk. So it's a much more like grounded, mindfulness focused perspective. Um and then even her take at the end about capitalism and our internal clock and like the fact that we're always in a rush. You guys know I'm obsessed with like personal growth, business building. Like that's why you're listening to this podcast. That's why I have this podcast. But like it these concepts, these thoughts, I know this is such like a niche and specific tangent that I'm going on, but these moments of like stillness and peace and mindfulness for me have to coexist with the hustle and the rush and the goal setting and the, go, 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 go. Like we'd get fried out if we didn't consume a little bit of stillness as well. And I know it, like I said, I laughed earlier, like it just feels so silly, like doing a podcast around washing dishes. It can be anything, but I think if you're listening to a business focused podcast, if you're a hairstylist listening to this podcast, wanting to grow your business, like, this is the shit that has to be on the other end of the pendulum to keep you balanced. And I'm sure we'll continue to do more and more deep dive mindset, mindfulness, spiritual focused episodes, especially if you guys like this. We'll see. Maybe you guys will be like, okay, Lisa, that one was kind of off the wall. But for me, like, this needs to be part of the journey as well, or else what we can get so thrown off on our, like, hustle, 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 masculine energy, go, 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 money, 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 business, rush, hustle, strength, like, without the softness, without the stillness, without the peace, without the contentment, without the roots, without the grounding, without the other side of it. So I wanted to share that one. The next one I have to share is a longer TikTok. And this girl's thoughts are kind of all over the place, but I also kind of get it. So let's listen to that one together now as well.
So I eventually reached a place in my spiritual journey where I started saying to myself, if it doesn't help me get my dishes done, I don't need it, right? Because what I realized is that no matter how spiritual I get, I'm gonna still have to do my dishes. And they're not gonna do themselves. And I don't necessarily wanna be paying somebody to do them for me, because then what do I learn? You know? And there's obviously some resistance to doing the dishes. I'm working through it though, I'm getting better. I don't have a dishwasher currently, so it helps that my hot water's back on. I didn't have hot water for a while because my hot water heater broke. My dad drove down and fixed it for me. So at least now I don't have to do my dishes in cold water by hand. But for a while there, I had fallen into like the spiritual journey trap that is the trap of getting too high, right? Raise your vibration, get high, 5D, get the higher perspective. We're ascending, right? Oh, ascension, everything about ascension. And I was getting so caught up in theory and in these spiritual beliefs and learning about stuff. Oh my God, just learning, which is so good. I love to learn, but it was hindering my ability to do my dishes, to handle my life. I was so disconnected from reality. I was too high. I wasn't grounded, right? You're ascending to what point? But are you able to still stay connected to the ground? Are you still able to handle your human responsibilities? Or are you getting so high that your human is being neglected? And something I realized was that I was getting so high and so honestly anxious, because when we think about, the two polarities, the two poles, or, people who are bipolar, two poles, know about this, is that there's the extremely high state of mania, anxiety, and there's the extremely low state of depression, right? And what it is nervous system dysregulation, right? Your nervous system is responsible for keeping you safe, right? In a lot of ways, when you think about your fight or flight response, that's an evolutionary, I don't know what you call it. Anyway, your fight or flight system's trying to keep you safe, right? And what I realized was that the higher and higher I got, my anxiety was getting worse. I wasn't grounded, because I was trying not to be depressed anymore. So I'm like, let me just get as high as possible. And then my body's like, hey, we're not safe here. And guess what your body doesn't want to do when it doesn't feel safe? Your dishes. Because guess what? If you were facing a lion or a tiger in the wilderness and your body's like, oh shit, guess what? You're not thinking, oh, I'm going to do my dishes. Can you just hold on a sec? Right? So your dishes done.
Okay, so she covered a lot of ground in that polo. But what really stuck out, not polo, sorry, TikTok. What really stuck out to me in that TikTok specifically, and I relate to this, and I know some of you listening relate to this as well, is her talking about the ascension, the getting higher, the striving, reaching, set the next biggest goal, break through the next ceiling, go bigger, go further. And I've been there. I'm still there. We're all doing it. I get it. But there's been periods of time where I've had explosive growth in one area of my life where other areas start to fall to, the wayside and get a little lost. And I liked when she said, like, you're getting so high, you're neglecting your human. And I Granted, I don't do dishes every day. We're at the point now that that's Skylar's chores. She does do them after school. Love that. Actually, I think after this podcast episode, I would really like to go hand wash some dishes. But I have had plenty of periods in my life where the other side of me got neglected, where the house can't get kept up. Sometimes our health can't be kept up. And I just really relate, feel this concept deeply and try to circle back to this every time I find myself. It's all balance, right? And I've been to the point where I've hired house cleaners and we have these conversations. I do a training called Dream Schedule, and I was sharing okay, you have you time, you have others time, you have your behind the chair time, you have your admin time, and someone in Soul Tribe said, "Okay, but what about the adulting tasks? What about cleaning up after myself? What about we all want to get to a point, or there's some I don't know if it's just me, but I had this picture in my head of once I hit a certain, dollar amount per year, somehow the dishes are just going to stay done. Whether it's me, it's a maid, it's, whatever it is, somehow they're just going to stay done. And that I really relate to what that last girl said of just getting so high, so high, so high that you're losing you're not grounded in the meantime. And so I just really related to that, and I really loved that. And I think that's just sometimes a reminder that we all need with all of this hustle, culture being pumped out at us, that do you really want to work that fucking hard that you don't even do dishes anymore? Maybe you do. I don't know. Or can we flip this on its head and just find the beauty in the miracle, like that second TikTok said, of just being in the present moment, whether that's sitting with your, kids, or sitting with your feet in the grass, just being in the moment, or feeling the warm water on your hands when you're doing the dishes, or any task that seems not worth it or unpleasant or a waste of time. That's, I think, the message that really stands out to me is there's no such thing as a waste of time. Be in this moment right now, because it truly is a miracle. So the next one I'm going to share is very much around that thought process as well. So let's listen to that one now.
Washing dishes is a religious activity, at least according to mathematician Alfred Whitehead, who defined religion as what an individual does with his solitariness. The warm water running between my fingers, my chest gently expanding with every breath, the symphony of sound as the water plays different parts and vessels. This mindfulness is a practice of presence in the present. Each stain carries a story. The remnants of Saturday's pozole made by my friend Joy's mom reminds me of spending time with the Barajas clan during graduation weekend. Their stories of resilience and hope in the midst of storms. Kumquat slices from our chung that went bad reminds me of plucking them from my in-laws' garden in Riverside, California. I see my father shoving them into his pockets on his first visit to the States because they were so expensive in Oman, where I used to live. The flour stains remind me of when we had friends over last week for sourdough-crusted pizzas that my wife baked. Not that I think about all these things as I wash dishes. I'm usually thinking about a million other things, but once in a while, if I'm lucky, I'm just thinking about washing dishes. Living in a culture here in America where capitalism is religion, rest is sin, and hustle is holiness, washing dishes or making my filter coffee reminds me that the ordinary is not evil, but the foundation upon which all other experiences flow. That the most important thing about the mundane is not its potential usefulness, but its presence in your gently unfolding story. As a follower of the way, during these mundane yet meaningful moments, I'm reminded that reality is not a commodity to exploit, but oftentimes can be a companion to befriend.
That's a good one, right? I saved the best for last. I have a few quotes I want to pull apart from that one. This mindfulness is a practice of presence in the present. That is the goal, is tapping into the present. Anxiety, depression, fear, it comes from your mind being in the past or being in the future. Every time you start to lose control of that or lose touch of that, it's circling back to the present. And then he goes on to talk about, memories that come up when he's doing dishes. And I really like when he said, I'm usually thinking about a million, or what did he say? Not that I think about all these things as I wash dishes. I'm usually thinking about a million other things. But once in a while, if I'm lucky, I'm just thinking about washing dishes. And like, how true is that? How much are we, no matter what moment we're in, no matter who's in front of us, no matter what we're doing, our mind is somewhere else. And like that to me is like my own journey or whatever of spirituality, is like trying to get back to that present moment, trying to just soak in what I have right now, right in front of me, not thinking about the future, not worried about the past, not to tasks and to-do lists and all of those things. Coming back into that present moment. And then he says, living in a culture where living in a culture here in America where capitalism is religion and rest is sin, hustle is holiness, washing dishes or making my filter coffee reminds me that the ordinary is not evil, but the foundation upon which all other experiences flow. And the most important thing about the mundane really is isn't its potential usefulness, but its presence in your gently unfolding story. I can't tell you how many people in Soul Tribe this will come up where they're like, I had a day off and I took white space or whatever. This all comes back to like my take on white space and how important it is to me. And they're like, I just felt so guilty the whole day. Whether they spent the day watching TV or scrolling or, cleaning their house or whatever, somehow we've gotten so hustle, get things done, what's next, that a day spent washing dishes, a day spent watching TV, a day spent doing something that isn't like reaching a goal feels like time not well spent. And I just try to stay so aware of that because I just know that at the end of my life, I don't want to think like I missed it. Like I wasn't even there for it. I already feel that in a way, and maybe this is just the human experience. Like I'll look back at like pictures when my kids were babies and it was just like, oh my God, what I would give to just like be present in that moment again. That I try to just like practice that. It's a muscle that we have to work, and I try to work it as often as I can. So those were my takes on why washing dishes is a spiritual experience. It really makes me want to go fill my sink up and get to town and just like, it's meditative. It is meditation. So thank you, Amy, for inspiring this maybe psychotic, maybe impactful podcast episode. I'm sure you had no idea when you sent me that polo about your dishwasher breaking and the gratitude challenge that this was the way I would spin it. Maybe you did. I do these things. Yeah. Those are all my thoughts. That's everything I wanted to share. I hope that no matter what you're doing when you're listening to this is your reminder and you can come back to this thought every time you need to tap back into the present moment. And whether you're far on your journey or new to these things, like maybe this is like, child's play to you. Like, duh, what are you talking about? But to me, this was like really impactful. And these are the thoughts and the habits that I'm trying to create in my own journey. And like I've said, white space is so important to me, and meditation and stillness is so important to me. This is just like a little peek, like I said, into a weird, strange corner in my brain that I wanted to just invite you guys all along to. So if you liked this episode, please let me know. I really, really, really appreciate your guys' feedback on all the episodes. It makes me so happy. On Wednesdays when the episode comes out, the messages I start to get the next few days as you guys are listening to them, it really means a lot to me. If this one didn't do it for you, that's fine. Don't tell me, or do tell me, that's fine. And if this sparks any more conversation you'd like to add to the conversation, or another route you'd love to hear me go, please let me know. So I've actually been on a podcast recording roll, so this is probably not going to come out for quite a few weeks, which is great. Love being in that position, batched way ahead of time. But if you guys are listening to this, I'll say it again because it's a solo episode, and I rarely think of this when I have guests on. Please leave me a review if you're listening on Apple podcasts, a rating if you're listening on Spotify. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, all of the things. Take a picture, share it in your story. That means so much to me. If you're listening to this and you'd like to be on the podcast, reach out. I have been doing tons and tons of interviews. I am loving it. I'm loving sprinkling these solo episodes in. I just loving being here and doing this. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Thank you for caring enough to listen to me rant about doing dishes for 30 minutes. That's bizarre that people do that and will listen to that. But I hope that it landed with you in some way, shape, or form. I love you all. I am grateful as fuck for you, and I will talk to you next week. Okay, bye.